Right, Chef, I know. Welcome back to the Jabez Makawe experience. Today I have my uncle, Steve Colins. Growing up, we were referred to you as the rich uncle. But that's because you're an entrepreneur, pilot. What else? What else did I miss?
Oh, goodness. I suppose I suppose what it was is I didn't shy off anything.
Yep.
When I was a young fellow, I wanted to be successful. I wanted to do well. I liked the idea of having money rather than not having money.
I feel you on that one. Hey.
So right from the get-go, when I was at school, I was being entrepreneur. Started out selling cigarettes at school.
Oh yeah.
So at high school.
Cigarettes, eh?
Yeah, cigarettes. You could buy a packet of cigarettes for $2 back then.
Yep.
For 40 cents. Sell them for $2 at school, 10 cents a cigarette. So I started off doing that, and then lollies and fizzy drink and things like that. Buy a box of Moro bars and take them to school and sell them for a couple of bucks each. And paid 10 cents each for them, sort of thing.
Yep.
So I started off early doing that, and I was good at it. So I just carried on with that, and goodness,
Entrepreneur from the beginning, eh?
Yeah, no. And what I found was I was a bit of a loner at school. I didn't have too many mates, and even though we were from a wealthy family, we didn't actually know it because Dad worked us like dogs. We didn't get anything. You didn't get any pocket money. You didn't, if you did do any work, you never got paid. So that was how I got my first money on my own, was selling cigarettes. So from that, money gives you freedom. That's what I found,
So you realised that as a kid?
Yeah, when I was about 13, 14, I started doing that, and got money, which gave me independence, gave me freedom. I could buy what I want for the first time, whether it was a lolly or a shirt or whatever. And I really liked that, and to this day.
To this day, eh?
I'm still the same.
Still hustling?
Yeah, still hustling, still trying to make $1. Still can't stop thinking about how you can make $1 or see opportunities. The only difference now is at my age, you see all the opportunity, but you haven't got the energy. Because it takes a lot of energy to make anything happen. As you know, Jabez, it doesn't just happen. You've got to... It's a vision. It's a dream. Everything starts with a dream, I believe, an idea, a dream, and then I learned young that what you got to do is you got to have goals. So the dream is the goal. Like I wanted to be a helicopter pilot, for example.
Yep.
And I never thought I'd be a helicopter pilot ever in my life until my oldest brother turned up in a helicopter. Went for a ride with him, fell in love with it. And I was only average at school academically, but I was really good at sport. And I thought, wow, people that are pilots are really bright, smart people. There's no way I could be a helicopter pilot. And then my brother, who became one, he said, no, if I can do it, you could do it. So that actually inspired me. And I still didn't do it until I was lucky to get a job with the guy actually working for him on his helicopter. Bernie Milroy was his name. Top man, and he not only inspired me to do it, but he offered to help me financially to get through it, because it was about $50,000 back then.
What year are we talking?
We're talking 1979.
Damn, that would have been a lot of money back then.
Oh yeah, 50 grand back then, mate. You could buy in Opotiki at that time. You'd buy with 50 grand. You would buy 7 houses. 7 houses.
7 houses.
A house in Opotiki today is $400,000.
Damn.
So back then, with that 50 grand, I could have bought about 7 houses, because they're about 7 grand back then. You could
speaking of Opotiki and opportunity, you're actually running for Mayor of Opotiki.
Yes. That's.
So I'll just drop that in there. But before, keep watching. You'll find out about why the man's running for Mayor of Opotiki and all that other stuff. Let's take it back to Opotiki when you're a young buck. How'd you end up there?
Yeah, well, Opotiki, I love Opotiki. We moved there when I was about 12, 13 years old. And Dad went there to retire, actually. He bought a farm there, a little farm. And we moved there. We were going to boarding school. At the time, I was still going to St. Stephen's College. And we didn't really know anyone for the first couple of years because we were boarding at boarding school. And because we weren't from there, we didn't really know anybody.
Yeah.
And
what was town like? What was Opotiki like back then?
It was awesome. It was an awesome town. Back then, Opotiki was a thriving, rural, middle-class town. There was really no issues really in the town except for one, and that was a drinking culture. So, Thursday after pay, Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights, the pubs would fill up. 3 pubs in town would be full by 5 o'clock, 5:30. By 10 o'clock, the doors shut. By 11 o'clock, there were lots of brawls and people fighting alcohol. And alcohol was a huge. It was back in those days. It was really a big problem, but it was the only problem that we had. People got off their face on alcohol, and like a lot of people do on alcohol, they get aggressive after a while, and the real person comes out, or the real bitch, or the real shit that they're thinking about in their head starts spilling out of their mouth because they've got the courage now to say what they want to say to people, and that leads to issues, and that leads to fights, and that used to happen. But other than that, the best thing about Opotiki, if you had one little bit of go in you back then, you could make money. For me, because I was the entrepreneur type guy, I was there. My first job I started out was a scrub cutting and fencing with my brother Rick. And then that felt like too much like hard work, that sort of thing. So we started going into, I could make more money. I realised I could make more money out of possums and shooting deer. And to give you an example, back then I could shoot a deer, one deer, and I'd get a couple of $100 for it. Well, the average person was getting about $50, $60 a week, bro. So we're talking about a young fella that's 17, 18 years old, shoot a deer, sell it for $200, and you just earn 3 weeks' wages of one deer. And so, you might shoot a deer way, way, way back in the mountains and take a whole day, even day and a half.
But back then you were walking out to get the meat?
Everything was walking. A lot of walking. The animals weren't as numerous as they are now because a lot of people were doing it because there's a lot of money in it. And then I'd do possum skins as well. We were going doing the possum skins. Well, I'd average $10 a skin. Or I might get 300 or 400 skins a year while I was hunting as well. So you could actually make money. And then the other great thing is there was not all the
pay tax back then or not?
Yeah, and it was
straight cash.
And it was mostly straight cash. Everything was straight cash, not much paying taxes or anything like that. And but the other big thing that I came to realise compared to now was there wasn't all the regulation. For example, if you were into diving, you could start diving and get crays and sell them. If you wanted into fishing, you could just go and catch fish, and you could start with a tinny and turn into a commercial fisherman. And you didn't need all the licenses and all the regulations. And
did you need a helicopter license?
Yeah. Well, the helicopter was a little different because the aviation department was they're the leaders of safety, the industry that leads safety, I'd say. We had all the similar to OSH and all that even back then. So even back then it was, we had all that OSH stuff with the aviation department. And so when all that started happening about 20 years ago in normal business, I adapted to it quite easily, all that regulation. And I wasn't that good at it myself, but I employed people to deal with it. That's it.
So you were saying earlier about how you went and got your helicopter license. Cost you $50,000.
Cost me $50,000.
A lot of money back then, but you didn't think you could do it, but you done it.
Yeah, I knew I could get the money because I could earn money. I had a lot of doubt whether I had the academic nous to do it. That was where I was really worried about the ability to do the academic side of it, the theory, because there's two sides to the theory and then the practical. The practical, I had no doubt in my mind I'd be able to fly a helicopter.
Were you already flying a helicopter before you got the license? No,
never flown them. I'd flown in them a lot. because I started off as a shooter for my brother Joe,
Yeah.
and I worked for him for about 5 months.
So he never let you take the reins, eh?
No, he never. It's sort of. I was never lucky enough in those early days to fly in a helicopter with dual controls.
Oh, okay.
Now you can't sort of go, I'll pull over,
Yep.
Jabby, do you want to have a go? And you have a go, and then
Yep.
I hop back in. It's sort of not like that. You've got to actually have the license. And then there's a lot of issues with insurance and all that sort of stuff as well.
Yep.
So, yeah. But I just watching how they're doing it and the type of people I was doing it with, I got to the stage where I was looking at people and thinking, wow, if that guy can do it, I'm damn sure I can do it.
Yep.
And I was like that with a lot of things too, like I'm a firm believer in that. If just look around, and if you see somebody doing something, well, why can't you do it?
Yep.
It's just whether you really want to do it.
So you went and you went and done it. Was it as hard as you
yeah,
thought?
it was. The academic side was very hard. When I finally decided to do it, I went down to Nelson Aviation College down in Motueka. A guy called Wally Wankton Dog actually was the he was
Shout out to Wally.
yeah, and he was a Air Force test pilot back in the day, and he started up aviation college, and he taught my brother how to fly. The theory part of it, and he put me onto him. So I went down there, decided, right, I'm going to do it. Went down there and for a 4 month course to do all the theory side of it, and which was basically 7 exams, and you had to pass 70% in each exam. So you had, you had navigation, which I found was the hardest. Meteorology were all about the weather. Aircraft technical knowledge, which is basically all the mechanical side of it. You had law as well, all the different laws that you have to know, and then principles of flight, which is all the physics of flying, how you actually fly. And then you had 2 subjects that were specific to helicopters, which were the principle and the technical air technical knowledge and the principles of flight, which was, as you can imagine, a little different planes to helicopters. So there was 7 subjects, and then you had to do a turbine rating, which was just so you could learn about turbine engines, so that you could fly turbine helicopters as well. So I did all that. Oh, and then a radio license as well, so you knew how to use all the radios and things like that. So I went down there, and when I went down there, I knew that I was going to struggle with academia.
Yep.
So different to when I was at school. When I was at school, I was just a shitbag. I was bored academically.
Yep.
I just didn't.
I feel you.
Yeah, I just didn't click. I really didn't.
I think that whole system, there's a lot of us that
Yeah.
it doesn't work for, but just some of you young guys out there who might be struggling academically in school, that school's not the end all be all.
Definitely. School. I found school really boring, to be honest. I got bored really quick, and when you get bored, you lose interest, and when you're not interested or you're not paying attention, you get left behind. So now you're not good at what you're doing.
I was the same way, and always telling I'm never going to be nothing. But look at me now. So all you young guys out there that are watching.
Oh yeah, it doesn't matter. School
doesn't dictate where you're going to be for the rest of your life, does it?
No way. I know, most of my mates that are wealthy people were like me. If not, came from even less academic backgrounds, or even from poverty backgrounds.
Yep.
They were the same as me. They were just bored at school and never saw the point of it. And when you're young, how do you see the point of algebra?
Yep.
At school, when some teacher's trying to tell you, no, x, y plus z over b is pi r squared or whatever.
Yeah.
It means nothing to you, and I used to say that to my teachers, And then you get to 13.
Hey, but if they're talking, if you're at school and they were talking how to make money, well, it fucking means something to you,
Exactly.
If they're relating that math to making money,
you would have been all over it like a rash. That's exactly what they should be teaching. They should be teaching you how to be entrepreneurial. They should be teaching you how to pay your bills. They should be teaching you how to do simple things like open a bank account, and how to manage your money. what mortgages are, where to find money. If you want to buy a house, you go to banks. If you want to buy things like cars, you go to finance companies. Nobody ever told me that.
Yeah.
Well, now as a businessman, that's critical information to know.
Yep.
And you learn none of it at school.
You learn none of it. You learn none of it. So then you go into get your helicopter license, and you think in your mind, I can't do this because I was bad at school, right? Like you've got that narrative going in your head.
And that's already rolling around in your head. And I've made the decision I'm going to go down there and do this.
Yep.
And I'm going to give it the best shot I've ever done. And I know it's going to be the biggest mountain I've climbed. So I thought, right, when I was at school, I was a rat bag. So I was down the backboard sticking, tacks on the guy's seat in front of me when he sat down and all that sort of stupid stuff. And looking out the window, dreaming about the possibilities. To know I'm going to be the guy sitting right in front of the school teacher, and every time he's talked about something and I didn't understand, my hand would go up and say, I don't understand that, can you tell me it again? Until I got it, because I was a firm believer I had to get all the basics right at the beginning. It was really important. So first day I went in there, we sat down and I sat right at the front of the class, and within 2 or 3 days, a lot of people in the class weren't happy with me because, I was obviously the dunce of the class because I was asking a million questions. And then one day, Wally just said to the class, he said, listen, if one person in here's got the nuts to put his hand up and say, hey, I don't understand what you just said, can you tell me it again? And let alone if he keeps saying it 3 or 4 times that I still don't get it, can you break it down in a different way and so I can?
Yeah.
He knew there'd be at least 50% of the rest of the class was exactly the same as I was, but were too embarrassed or too shy or just
didn't want to say anything.
Just didn't want to say anything. And he knew that from his years of teaching.
Yeah.
And, mate, without him, this here was his teacher that for the first time in my life actually showed some attention to me because I actually was not the smart guy, but he could see that I was there to do it. And without him, I wouldn't have done it. He spent hours teaching me extracurriculum after class. I'd stay with him till 12 o'clock at night sometimes to get my head around stuff. But it was really funny. At the end of this course, by the time we'd done the four months, about 30% of the class passed, and I was the class dunce, and I was one of those.
Only 30%?
Yeah, and I was one of the 30%.
Yeah.
So I was wrapped. I was just wrapped. And then now I had to do the flying. I'd never done any flying, so I got all the subjects. And now I had to do the flying part. So it was hard out working.
Well, I got to ask you this question honestly, because I know what it's like when you're young, and when I come to the flying part, were you like, what was your attitude? Was it like, I'm the man, I'm going to... I know I've been in these helicopters. I'm going to be the man at flying these. Was it that kind of? Yeah. Was it that kind of attitude?
It was definitely that kind of attitude. Because I'd achieved the most, already achieved the biggest hurdle I'd ever crossed in my life. Just getting, all this stuff, and now I'm actually going to learn.
Yeah. So
I went over to Rotorua from Opotiki. Was the only place I could get a guy that would teach me. A guy called Doug Ralston. And I get over there, and I think I'm going to just jump in this thing and fly off on it and fly around for 10 hours. And I had 50 hours to do to get my private license to start with. So I thought, I'll blow that over in a couple of 3 days, and then I'll, give me a couple of weeks, and I'll be flying around and being the man. Well, what a shock I had waiting for me when I started on that. Gosh. And my teacher was really awesome because he was an ex-Vietnam veteran, and he taught people he was an American guy, Captain D. Doug Ralston, and Doug he spent like an hour just going over the helicopter and showing me all these little things on it and showing me how to actually do a pre-flight, they call it, and you don't do it with your eyes, you touch everything, you don't just look at it, you feel it, you look at it, and you actually really taught me to look in detail.
Become one with the machine.
Exactly, and know everything about it. And then particular aircraft would have particular things that would fail, so you'd look for those regularly all day long. Every time you got out of the aircraft, check this, check that, look this, that, and look for cracks here. These fall off, these vibrate loose. And I'm sitting there going, "God, just let
When am I going to fly?"
Just get this fucking show underway. I just want to get in this thing and be the man. Well, finally we get in this thing, and I get it, and mate, he gets up, gets it, and he gets the thing, and he's, we've got dual controls in it, of course, and he flies it, picks it up, shows me what he wants me to do, and gives it to me. Well, as soon as he gives it to me to control the thing, I would be losing control of the helicopter within 2 seconds.
Damn.
2 seconds is out of control, and he has to grab it.
Yeah.
Wow, mate, what a level of that is when you.
So the ego got popped, eh?
Exactly, the ego. It's sort of the ego right out. And we did our first hours flying, and I felt no shit. I felt like I'd just shorn 200 sheep. I was that physically, I didn't realise what I was doing, exhausted physically, because you're concentrating so much, and I was holding on to the controls really tight. I didn't even know I was doing it. He's always telling me not to, but no, obviously I was.
Yep.
So
got nerves, eh?
So when we finally got on the ground after an hour, I'm all cramped up and feel like, holy moly, I feel like I've just done 80 hours hard work, So it was a leveler. But anyway, we persevered and got through that, and I was really lucky. I had good instructors, good guys that I connected with, respected, and I listened to them, and that kept me out of a lot of trouble later on in my career.
We'll go three tips for someone. There might be some young guy out there who wants to get his helicopter license.
3 tips.
If
you're serious about it, don't worry what anybody else thinks. Don't worry what you've done in the past. Don't worry about your academia. It's one of the few careers that you don't need anything to do.
Just like barbering as well.
Yeah. You can. Even if you were smart enough, you could do it by correspondence. Even. So you don't need any. You had to be school for so long, or you had to have school C, or whatever the things are now. You didn't need any of that, and you still don't.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. So if you're keen. And you're serious. And when I say serious, you're doing this for you. Nobody else, you. Because this is the direction you want to go. Because it's going to take you 3 or 4 years to crack it. So it's a big haul. And it's going to cost a lot of money. So the first thing you've got to do is do a medical.
Yeah.
A commercial pilot license medical. Because if you've got any medical issue, and a lot of people don't realise they have, you failed. So you're not going to be. You can't be a pilot, and for obvious reasons, they can't have people flying around
having a heart attack.
Yeah, having heart attacks, or can't see properly, or got some epilepsy or some sort of thing like that. Well, you can't have you paying me as a pilot to take you, a New Zealand pilot to take you to Japan, and on halfway across the ocean he has a heart attack or has an epileptic fit or something. So all that. So you've got to do once you've made your mind up. You've actually got to do the medical first, very, very important. Otherwise, you're going to spend a whole lot of money for no reason.
Yep.
Then the next thing is I would go and do an introductory flight in a helicopter, so that to make sure that this is really what you do. And that's easy to do. You can get an instructor. You put a couple of dual controls in, and he'll take you up for an hour and do what I originally did.
So you can just do that without a license?
Without a license. But he's going to not, of course, give you
the full reins.
Yeah, he's not going to give you the full deal as if he's
just give you a little feel, give you a little taster.
It's an introduction flight, they call it.
Yep.
So he's going to show you how things work. He'll fly the helicopter 90% of the time and just let you tutu and play with different controls and get the feel of it and basically to build your confidence.
Okay.
And then and once you've done your introductory flight, depending on whether you're an academic person or a practical person, there's two, I think, and then some people are both, but most I think are one or the other. Like I'm a practical person.
Yeah, same.
And when I say practical, I mean show me.
Yeah.
Don't tell me.
Yeah.
Don't give me a pamphlet or a book.
Yeah.
Just show me how to do it.
Yeah. And I can just watch.
And I can watch you, and now 9 times out of 10, I've got it.
Yeah.
Whereas
Same.
some people, it's more like the other way around. You know,
Yep.
it's they've got to be taught it more and got to read about it more and be more specific. So depending on what you are, if you're a practical person, well, you're gonna pick up the flying really easy because that's the fun bit, and that's what it's really all about. Is that part of it, not all the academia part.
Yeah.
So I'd go and then book yourself into an aviation college, like now's the Nation Navy College. Dedicate yourself to it. Get that out of the way once you've got the theory done, as they call it. You're on to practical, and the most important thing to do with practical is pick a instructor that is highly experienced. For example, you know, like if somebody came to learn to fly with me, I've got 40 years of experience.
40 years.
To share with them.
Yep.
Just sitting there having a beer after we've done a flight. And you'll learn more from me if you were having a beer with me and I was teaching you to fly.
Yep.
Actually having a beer than in that helicopter, if you're willing to listen.
Yep.
Just like yourself, Jebby. If I was keen to know how you're running your business, you know, proper, the real deal, 100%.
You come and sweep the floor.
I come sweep the floor, watch every move you do,
Yep.
eyes wide open,
Yep.
mouth closed, not shy to ask a few questions though,
Yep.
but mainly watch, look and learn, mate.
Yep.
It's all about observation and
Take
close
note, all you young fellas out there.
and attention to detail. I think that's the most important thing of the lot, attention to detail. And what are we talking about, attention to detail? You know, like if you want to look the part, attention to detail. If you want to look cool, attention to detail. If you want your car to look cool.
Or speaking of, I'm fucking, you know, I'm not looking too bad.
you're looking sharp, bro. You're looking sharp as I'm liking it. Yeah, and you know, and you apply that to everything in your life, and what are we talking about there too? Is you know, you get up in the bed, get up in the morning. The first thing you should do is make your bed.
Yeah.
You know, and it's really, really important. I learned that in boarding school. You know, mum made us do it.
That's what Jordan Peterson. I don't know if you've heard of Jordan Peterson, but he always says that.
Yep.
First thing to do, make your bed.
Yep, it's true. And what it is you've accomplished the first mission of the day already. So as soon as you get out of bed, you've already got first mission done.
I'll be honest, I didn't make my fucking bed I usually make my bed. I didn't fucking make my bed this morning.
There you go. I still miss sometimes if I'm on a mission, but 99% of the time I still make my bed to this day. And the reason why too is you've accomplished your first mission of the day, sets you up nicely for the day. And also, if that's the only thing that goes right for you for the day, when you come home at night, you got a made bed to get into.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And even if you had a shit day, you still got a made bed to
nice
get into.
Bed, nice,
you know, nice.
clean
And you
sheets,
get in there and it's all made and it's all exactly how you do, and you wriggle in there and it's all good. You know, and if you apply that in business, it's essential.
Okay, before we get on to business, we'll just wrap up the whole. So you come away from, because this is why I really want to talk about business.
Yep.
I want to learn. You know,
Uh-huh.
I want to pay attention
Yes.
to detail.
To detail.
So you get on stuff you don't necessarily think that you're going to be able to get this license. It's been a massive goal of yours, but you do it. You overcome that hurdle. You set that goal. You overcome it. You go back to Opotiki.
Yes. I do the practical.
Yep.
And once I got my head around it, I was a natural at it, and it became really easy, and I loved it. And I'll never forget. I went solo in 9 hours. So after 9 hours training with an instructor, I was away by myself learning to fly, mate, that was a head rush from hell. I never forget it. I still believe it. I still remember every moment.
Do you still get that feeling?
Yes. Yep. Oh, mate, I went for a fly the other day with a friend of mine, Stephen Woods, Motu Helicopters in Opotiki, born and bred boy, and exactly the same thing. Just an average boy at school, looked out the window, but all he did was look out the window.
Shout out to Stephen Woods.
And look up skyward was all he looked. He always looked skyward, always dreamed of being a chopper pilot. And went and worked his butt off, became an apprentice first as a panel beater. He told me the other day, he said he used to, after work every day, he'd go and cut a trailer load of firewood, And when he went to work in the morning, he had parked that firewood outside his work, and he sold a trailer load of firewood, $30 back in those days, and that money went 90% through his pilot's license, just selling a trailer of firewood a day, bro.
Nice.
You know, it took him years, but that was once again. And mate, Stevie pays attention to detail like you wouldn't believe. He's the man, and that's why I love him so much. And you see, it was most, just about all self-made guys I know are all the same.
Yep,
they're exactly the same. They either made themselves do it, or they were already like that.
Yep,
you know. But they learnt real quick that you have to be like that.
Yep.
If you want to be successful, and measure your success in financial money.
Yep,
because that's what it's all about, you know. And at a successful level, but then again, you know, what is money? Money is freedom. It doesn't bring you happiness, it brings you freedom. That's what it does. It doesn't bring you the happiness, it brings you the options, and it gives you freedom. And I've had both. I've had no money and I've had money, and I know which one I'd rather have, the dollars every time. So, but you got to do the mahi to get the treats. The old story.
Speaking of mahi, you get your license.
So I get my license, and I think I'm the coolest guy in the world. And I've got this license, and I think, well, the phone's going to ring off the hook, and everyone's going to want to give me a job and fly their helicopters.
We're talking back in the venison recovery
days,
right?
We're talking back in, what year is that? We're talking 1983. Yep. 1983 this is, and it's, you know, the venison industry back then, the wildlife management was just booming. We were getting a couple of $1,000s for a deer if you caught it live. Getting
couple of $1,000
for one deer, exactly, bro.
Damn.
So it was just
in the early 80s.
And if you were a crewman, which I'd been doing for a couple of 3 years before I became a pilot, you would get 10% or whatever the chopper earned.
Yep.
So it was good money. We'd get good money. So if you caught an animal, you know, you'd get 10% of $2,000, which is $200.
$200.
It was $200. Most guys wouldn't be getting $200 a week, you know, and you'd be catching 2 or 3 deer a day. Damn. So it was good money, but me being the entrepreneur, I'm sitting there thinking, right, this guy's going to be lining up, I'm the man, and no phone calls. Nobody wanted to know me, because who the hell are you? You're the new kid on the block. Yep. All you've got is a license to kill. Yep. And if I go and fly a helicopter for, you know, somebody, because I'm just new on the block, the insurance rate's going to be 3 times this much. Yep. And you're talking about, you know, helicopters worth hundreds of thousands. Yep. So I wasn't aware of any of that because I was too young. And so reality hit real quick. So the next move is after about 6 months of sitting around, twiddling my thumbs, going crazy, that nobody's offering me a job, I thought, fuck it, there's only one thing I can do, is I'm going to have to go and get my own helicopter.
Damn.
And how am I going to do that? And it's funny how things happen. I think the old stars align sometimes.
Manifested it, eh?
Yeah. You know, I started thinking like that, and within 3 days later, I went out to dinner with a friend of mine, and he's talking to me about what I was doing and how it was getting on, trying to get a job. And I told him, and he said, well, why don't we buy a helicopter? And he was a farmer, you know, and he was farming deer and that. And I said, we? And he goes, yeah, why don't we buy a helicopter? We'll buy one together. Yeah. So boom, all of a sudden it became a reality that, you know, I could actually do the next step. So we put our money together. I rolled down to the bank at the time, BNZ, old Don McFerguson was his name, and told him what the plan was, showed him our plans, and they backed us. They backed me, actually, is what they did. And we went out and we bought a brand new helicopter for $147,000, which was a lot of money back then.
That would have been and how much would we, like one of those helicopters today?
Oh, today that same helicopter would be $1 million.
$1 million?
Yeah, today. For the same helicopter, yeah. So it was big money.
And you were how old? You were how old at this time?
How old was I? 21.
Fuck.
Yeah. So we had, you know, we had. Well, I think.
But at the time,
I was super confident, and I had the blessing that I'd already been doing it for 3 years as a shooter, which was the crewman.
Yep.
and I was sort of average at that, so that was okay. But I knew that I could do it.
Yep.
You know, and the money was so big that
And there's so much money being made, eh? Because
Exactly.
you're telling the banker,
exactly.
"Fuck, this is how much.
And I'm only getting 10% of it.
Yeah,
you
this
know,
is how much.
imagine if
This
I
is how
own it.
much a deer is. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
And he knew that by my wages and things. And then I said,
Yep.
well, I'm only getting 10%. If I own it, I'll get 100, and then I'll
Yep.
have to pay my boys, 10% each or whatever.
Yep.
And okay, and well, as soon as we launched into it, we were making money, mate. I'd never made so much money in my life. We'd go out and we were catching, a couple of deer a day, so it's $4,000.
Yep.
Then the goats, all of it became really a lot of money. All of a sudden, there was this fad on
Well, goats.
cashmere and Angora goat wool.
Oh, okay.
And overnight, you could catch feral goats that we used to fly past and were worth nothing, and they were worth a couple of $100.
Yep.
So the best time for catching deer was early in the morning and late in the evening. So that's when we'd go out and do that. And then during the middle of the day, we started catching goats. So we're catching 50 goats a day, selling them for $200 as well.
Yep.
So 6 weeks later, I'd paid the $147,000 off on the helicopter. And we started...
6 weeks later.
6 weeks, we paid off my first helicopter.
6 weeks later.
Yeah. It was the most money I've ever made in my life.
Fucking hell.
Even to this day.
What the fuck?
Yeah. 6 weeks. And and then of course we're only young fellas, so next minute we got to have the V8 Utes and
Yep.
we got to have all the toys too. So all of a sudden the toys turning up, but work toys, but we could have
Just say again how much the helicopter was back then.
147,000.
147,000. You paid it off in 6 weeks.
6 weeks. 6 weeks work, and we had it nailed. The bank manager couldn't believe it, and but I used to start that helicopter. I shit you not. An hour before dark,
Yep.
we'd be in the air in the dark, because I'd sometimes fly, an hour, half an hour in the dark to where we wanted to catch a deer that was sitting in a nice spot that we knew from our hunting experience,
Yep.
And then we'd be getting home in the summer. That was summertime, so we would be getting home 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, leaving home at 4
So you're just
o'clock in the
grinding.
morning. We were just grinding.
young, grinding.
7 days a week, mate, not stopping. I never even turned the fucking helicopter off, mate. Like, we'd stop, we'd do 2-hour runs, and I wouldn't even turn it off. I'd just pour milk gas in it and get back in it and go.
Yeah.
And if you wanted something to eat, well, you just ate and drank your food while you're flying along.
So how long did this go on for? Like,
We went for 3 months straight.
yep.
Never had a day off. And made all this money, and then all of a sudden we had the law all over us like a rash, because
Oh, really?
yeah, because what happened in the beginning, when I decided to do my own deal, I had to go and get this license that they'd just introduced called a Wild Animal Recovery License.
Yep.
And when I went to the forestry, it was the pre-doc this was, and said, hey, I've got my helicopter license, and we bought this helicopter, and we've got to get this license to go and chase deer and catch deer. We're into it. And they said, no, we've got enough. We don't want anybody else doing it. When really what it was, they just didn't want another Collins doing it, because my oldest brother was a little bit notorious in the game and got a bit of a name for himself for being a bit of mischief and poaching and all that sort of this. So the last thing they wanted was to get me involved too.
Yep.
So they refused to give me the license.
Yep.
So I pulled a bit of my Māori background out and went to see my elders and Uncle John Tahuri, who was running the Tūhoi Trust Board at the time in Mangapohatu.
Yep.
And talked to him, and they backed me, because the forestry said there was not enough land. There was too many operators, not enough land. Well, we had the whole of the Urawiras.
Nice.
So I got them to back me, and even with their backing back then, they still refused me. So being young and being dumb,
did it anyway.
I went, fuck yeah, I'm going to do it anyway. So I did. And they just gave me the rope, and I hung myself.
Yep.
And, we made all this money, and then all of a sudden the police turned up and they had 56 summonses and charges running out of my ears, from flow flying to poaching animals to not having licenses to carrying firearms and that without licensed aircrafts and all that sort of thing. And all of a sudden, and then piled up 10 different things on me at once. And Next minute, I was out of business. Just like that. It's 3 months, it was all over.
Damn. So you made all that money, then boom.
Yeah. Well, I still had the money, and
Yep.
they were trying to confiscate the helicopter off me.
Yep.
So I quickly sold that before they could get it off me. Turned that back into cash and got the same amount of money that I bought it for, bro.
And in those days, there was only cash.
Yes.
There was only cash back then, right?
Yeah, a lot of cash.
There's no fucking FPOS and all that shit.
No
back then.
FPOS, no bank cards, you had a check was about the big.
Yeah, so you could hide the cash.
Yeah, and the things came in cash, so I had a bucket full of cash out the back, buckets.
So that business,
And that overnight, I was in trouble with the law, and
Yep.
my God, it was all over me. And then I was just freaking out. But I'd made this money. Then I sold the helicopter and got my money back on the helicopter, so that was even better. And because the helicopter was new, it hadn't cost me anything, because you factored into all this maintenance and wearing
Yep.
all these pieces out and replacing them, and none of that happened. So all of a sudden, I had more. The money I'd put away for that, I didn't need to use.
Yep.
So I had all this money. So most of the money went on lawyers defending myself. They took it all back off me, though, not in a different way. Well, not all of it, but a lot of it. But a great thing happened was as soon as it sort of went out that I'd been busted and in a helicopter, I'd been grounded and all this sort of shit. The phone goes, and a mate of mine, turns out to be one of my best mates now, Rusty Phillips, rang me. And I'd heard of him. He was a bit of a legend in the game at the time. And he rang up and says, "Hey, I need a helicopter pilot. I hear you need a job." I said, "Yeah, shit, yeah. When do I start?" "Tomorrow." So off I went. And what I'd done, I'd made a bit of name for myself, mate.
Yep.
And the people looking at what I was doing went, "Wow, this guy's onto it."
Yeah.
He's been taken out by the law.
Your name was all over the paper, eh? You got the attention, eh?
But the attention came, and I was good at it. I was, not to say that I was blowing my own trumpet, but I was. We were naturals at it, and because not everybody was doing what we were doing. They weren't doing anywhere the numbers we were doing either.
Yeah.
So we were making a lot of money compared to a lot of other guys too. So I went off and worked with Rusty, and same thing. They bought a new helicopter for me. Their company, I paid the damn thing off in 1 month. That one, first month they had it, I paid it off.
Fuck.
Yeah. So
you guys were making crazy.
Yeah,
money.
and I did that for 3 different people.
Yep.
3 different companies I went and worked for. Basically set them up, made millions for them.
Yep.
And then a friend of mine it took about 5 years before I finally got 4 years before I finally got legal enough again to go out and do it for myself again.
Yeah.
And I did that for the next 24 years and just carried on flying, and that gave me the cash flow from my helicopter companies to venture into other projects like farming, orcharding, property development, and then I went to Rotorua and got big in tourism. I ended up over there with 150 odd staff. And
let's talk about that. So you move away from Opotiki?
Yeah, what happened was in when was it? 1987. 1987, the share market crashed.
That's when I was born. 1987.
True. Wow. Yep. Look at that, eh? Anyway, wow, 87.
87.
Gee. Makes me feel like an old bastard.
Some of these young fellas will be thinking, I'm an old bastard.
Yeah,
eh?
exactly.
Maybe I shouldn't have said that.
Oh, koro. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, 87 was the first share market crash I had with the economy collapse. The share market crashed and the economy collapsed, and overnight the deer that I had in the paddock, I had, in 1987, I had about 500 deer that I'd kept and was farming, my farm, live deer. And at at $2,000 a deer.
Okay, yeah.
$2,000 a deer, that's about $1 million worth of deer.
Fuck.
Well, within a week, they were worth $200 each.
Damn.
Yeah. So overnight, my $1 million worth of deer were worth about $100,000. So it was, and what had happened was the government had changed the rules on the tax incentives for buying deer.
Yeah.
And overnight, all those tax incentives were taken off them, and overnight, the whole industry collapsed.
Damn.
And but lucky for me, I didn't owe anybody any money.
Yeah.
So when it did collapse, I had my helicopter paid for. I had my farm paid for. I had everything that I'd owned paid for.
Yep.
You know, so I hadn't done what
the
a
kind
lot
of money you're making, I'm surprised everything was paid for, you know?
Yeah, and it's a big mistake people do. Here's a very important thing too. When you do start cracking it, you know, when
Yep.
you do like yourself, you know, you're out there, you're trying to get, because it takes years. You know, you've
Yep.
got to remember that 80% of businesses fail in the first 3 months
Yep.
of startup.
Yep.
80%. And then the 20 that are left, 80% of them will fail in the next 2 years.
Yep.
So your chance of actually pulling off your dream is really slim.
Yep.
So you got to be 24/7 on that gig. You know,
Yep.
it's not like when you work for somebody else. When you work for yourself, your computer never shuts down.
Never shuts down.
You're lying
Never
there in
shuts
bed, mummy's snoring away next
Yep.
to you, and you're staring in the dark at the ceiling thinking about the next idea or plotting and planning on how you're going to make it
Yeah,
bigger
she's
or
in
better
your
or
ear going, you're never present. Like, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
you know what's going on in my head?
Exactly.
Like, I wish I could just fucking switch it
Yeah.
off.
And when she wakes up, aren't you back? Get back to sleep. God, you're always up. You know, all that sort of thing. Yeah, but that's what happens, and I love it. I
Yep.
actually love it, bro, because you don't. Most people live for Friday,
Yeah.
the weekend. You know, they live their life around the weekend, and
Yep.
it blows my mind because life's too short to be doing that shit, mate.
Yep.
You know, life is precious, and it's not. You know, it's not the years in your life; it's the life in the years that count. So you got to be doing shit that you like doing.
Yeah.
You know, and the stuff that you're
100%.
passionate about.
Passion.
You know, those things that you gravitate towards naturally.
Yep.
You know, that shit. You know, if you like driving cars fast or driving machines, or you think, well, you're a person that will excel in that area, in
Yep.
my opinion.
Yep.
You know, if you like computers and you're tattooing on that thing all the time, well, bro, you're going to excel in there because you obviously have a passion for it.
Yep.
And when you have a passion for something, the cream always rises.
Yep.
So
Always.
all the people I know that are passionate about what they're doing, whether they're a shearer, a fencer, a plumber, a doctor, a lawyer, or a helicopter pilot, they're the top 3%, mate.
Yep.
You know, even they are. They
Yep.
become the cream because
Yep.
this isn't a job. This is what I live and breathe.
Yep. It's who I am.
And I'm thirsty for more knowledge, and I know that I'll never, ever get it all, but I'm hungry for it all the time. And you never stop learning. And that's really, really important. Really important to understand that passion and pick something that you're passionate about. Otherwise, you'll lose interest.
Yep.
Otherwise, it'll become boring.
Yep.
Otherwise, it'll just become another failure.
Yep.
You know, you've got to be really passionate about it. And when I say the word failure is not as in such as, you know, oh, you failed. I had a lot of failures. Don't worry about that. I dreamed up a few ideas, you know, and put a lot of money into them, a lot of effort, and it didn't work out.
Yeah.
But I looked at those failures as not failures, as learning curves.
Yeah.
You know, I learned so much from those failures. You know, you look back and go, damn, I could have done that wrong. Or damn, if I just listened to Jabez, he told me not to do that shit, and I didn't listen. You know,
Yeah. You got to learn from your own experience.
Exactly, and you
Someone
do.
can tell you a million times, but until you've experienced it, you don't know.
And the other one, when people are telling you what you should do, make sure that person has done it and is very good at it.
Yeah.
Not just done it, but is very good at it.
Yeah.
Now you be all ears. But otherwise, opinions are like arseholes. Everybody's got one.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So there's a million naysayers out there.
I get a million. Yeah, I get a million of them on TikTok. Like, shout out to all my haters telling me this, that, you're going to fail, this, that. Like,
Yeah, of course.
but none of you cunts have ever done shit, so fuck up. You know?
Exactly, boy. You know, like the naysayers, I call them, they're going to be there all the time. Oh, you can't do that. Oh, I've never done that before. Oh, you're dreaming. Bro, what are you come on. You know, all this sort of shit. And when you look at those people, 99% of them have done fuck all.
And they don't have a life that you want, right?
Exactly. They've done fuck all in their life.
Yeah.
You know, they've got some miserable life on some job that they hate if they have got a job.
And that's the reason why they fucking do it. That's the reason why they're saying it.
Yeah, and that's why they're saying it. They're actually
projecting.
killing their own mana. You know, they're
Yeah.
actually projecting this negativity to themselves.
Yeah.
And they want to project it onto you.
Onto you.
And
Exactly.
Don't let that shit
Don't let
come
them.
anywhere near you. You
Fuck
know,
them.
if you birds of a feather flock together.
Yep.
if you want to be around success, be around for successful people or people that at least think like you.
Yep.
And at the very least, be around people that when you voice your dreams to them and your aspirations and your goals,
Yeah.
they're going, "Sure, bro, mean.
Yeah.
Can I help you in any way, brother?"
They support you.
They support you, bro. Even if they do.
Yeah.
And those are the people, and those are your true friends.
Yeah.
And it's not about blood or water. It's about actions,
Actions,
And your friends, your true mates are there when your shit hits the fan, bro.
Yeah.
They're not there when your mates, your true mates aren't the ones that come around when you're having a party.
Yeah.
Your
They can celebrate your wins and your losses, eh?
Exactly. Your true mates is when they hear Jab's broken up with his missus,
Yeah.
is fucking bummed out, he's sitting at home, he's depressed as hell, he's fucking, hasn't seen his kid for weeks and he's not coming to work. And who knocks on the door? One of the bros. "What are you up to, brother?"
Yeah.
"Come on, let's go fishing or let's go party or let's go do this and tell me about what you're fucking going on in your life, and sharpen you up and lift you up again." Those are the true bros.
Yep.
And I'm lucky. I've got 2 guys, maybe 3. No, actually 3. 3 guys that I've had for 40 years like that.
Yep.
And my dad said to me all those years ago, he said, "Boy, if you can count your true friends on one hand, it'll be amazing."
Yeah.
Because you won't get part to 2. And it's so true. It's so damn true because you go through life. And like I say, I've got 3 good friends that have been through me all my life, and they're still there today, and they've backed me in everything I've ever done, even the bad things I've done, and the things that have failed, and they still backed me and said, "Oh, well, bro, you gave it your best shot. Sweet as. Go hard next one." And real important, those things too, because you've got to be around positive people.
Oh, I agree.
You've got to be around like-minded people.
Yep. There's that quote that says you are the 5 people you hang around, eh?
Exactly.
So if you have 5 friends that do a certain thing, you're going to be the fucking or 4 friends that do a certain thing, you're going to be the 5th one.
And
so you hang around 4 losers. Well, fuck, who's the 5th loser?
Exactly. And be the person you want the world to be. Be the person that you want the world to be out there.
It's a bar right there.
Exactly. And already, if you're listening out there, that you're going to have all these whinging naysayers going on you. So you just let that flow off you like water off a duck's back. Don't even buy into that. Don't even comment. Don't even turn your head.
Yeah, because no one's going to see the vision that you see in your
exactly. And don't even waste your breath trying to convince them.
Yeah.
You just
unless it's going to get you more views. If it's going to get you more views, well, like it does me. Well, exactly. One of the things I do, Uncle, is like I get a lot of haters. So one of the things I do is I know that they're going to engage, right? Because if I say something that triggers them, they're going to engage in the way that algorithms work on social media, TikTok, Instagram, the way that they work. Because the more people that leave a comment, that share your stuff, the more views that you get, right? Which is more potential audience, more people that can see it. So a lot of the times I'll say something that's going to be antagonizing to the people that hate what I'm doing, right?
Yes.
That hate that I'm trying to be successful, right?
Yes.
So I'll say things in a certain way. And I know in my mind it's going to get them triggered, right?
Yeah, you got to get a
I'm going to
reaction.
fuck them off. I'm going to get a reaction.
Exactly.
And then they're going to comment. And then the algorithm's going to say, "Oh, people like watching this video," but it's really because they're sitting there fucking watching it over and over again, thinking about something smart to say, And then a lot more views equals more business and more business for me, Because the people, you're always going to have a whole lot of bunch of people that don't like what you do.
Yes,
fuck them. You're going to have a whole lot of people that do like what you do. You just got to find them, right?
Exactly. And so it's a funny world you live in now, I was just listening to what you're saying there, because everything now is sort of instant, It's instant. I want, we're hungry.
Yeah.
I ring up Pizza Hut and fuck,
not even that.
They're busy and they're not answering. Well, I'm ringing Pizza Haven.
Yeah.
I'm
not even that, like you can just order it on your phone now.
Exactly. And then we're just ordering it and boom, it's turning up, and so everything's like that.
Everything's like that. So speaking of business, you left Opotiki, the day thing crashed overnight. Moved to Rotorua, got into the tourism business.
Yes.
Talk to us about that.
What was that? What was it? It was 19. 1989.
I don't know, but from the outside looking in, being a young kid, like looked like you had a lot of money.
Yeah.
You know?
What happened in 87, the share market crashed and the whole deer industry fell over.
Yep.
So I just parked my helicopter up. I didn't owe any money to anybody. I was farming deer. I got a lot of deer. I had cattle as well. I bought a couple of other properties as well with some money. I didn't owe anybody any money at all. And I was fishing out on Lake Tarawera one day, actually, with a friend of mine, and he goes, the old man's farm's up for sale, mortgagee sale. He did and I knew it. I knew his old man. I knew the farm, and I thought, wow, fuck, I love that place. I might just go along to the mortgagee sale. When's that happening? Oh, tomorrow. So I went along to this mortgagee sale in Rotorua and at Harcourts. And I knew the property was worth about $380,000, the government valuation, the rateable valuation they call it now, what you pay your rates on. Anyway, I knew
so
that
that'd be about $3 million these days, eh?
Yes, those days, and in comparison today, and I'd actually had a bit of money put aside that we were going to build another house at the Opotiki farm so I had a couple $100,000 buried away in a bucket somewhere. And I went to this auction. And I rock into this auction there, and I'm late. I'm just being nosy. I didn't go there to buy it. I just thought, it's too much money for me, but I'll go and have a look. And as I walk in, I going once, $125,000, going once, and going twice, and the next minute I'm bidding.
Yep.
Because fuck, 125,000. I had 200 in the fucking bucket
cash.
at home, and I'd cash. And I didn't go there to buy the property. I was just being nosy. We'd already actually even started buying material to build the house.
Yep.
So that was the plan at the stage. But mate, I couldn't believe it. This thing was going to sell for 120 grand. And it was worth 380. It was mad, and I had the money. So I started bidding, and I bought it for 192. So it just went right up. But I thought, right, I'll stick to the 200 and I'll go all the way. Well, auction stopped, and I with those there was a mortgagee sale auction, and what you have to do with those auctions, you have to pay 10% of whatever the auction price is. So 200,000, I had to come up with 20 grand straight away, that day.
Yep.
So the money's in a bucket at home. I'm in Rotorua, so I've got to rush off back over to Opotiki.
Yep.
Come back there with a brown paper bag with 20 grand in it, give it to the real estate agent, and the real estate agent counts, this money out. So they're all looking at this married boy in a pair of stubbies and a zigzag T-shirt on, and thinking, well, who's this cat? So dodgy as, but never mind, I didn't give a damn. I was a boy from Opotiki,
Yep.
We didn't give a damn about any of that stuff. And a month later, I owned the property. Well, when my wife Judy went and saw it, well, the first thing she said to me, what the fuck did you buy this dumb for? So, sometimes the girls just don't see that.
They don't see the vision.
Yeah, they don't see the vision.
They don't see the vision, bro.
And they can be the biggest handbrake that you've got. Can be your partner,
Yep.
In that vision. Anyway, but it didn't worry me because I was the sort of guy, by now I really believed in myself, and I didn't give a damn.
Well, you've done it over and over already,
and I've done it so many times now that it's sort of, naysayers just... I just bleed them away. It didn't worry me. I'd heard so much negative shit, but by now I'd come out the end of that, and it was just nothing. So I just carried on with my dream, and I bought this property, and I went over there, lived there by myself, and every day I used to look across the lake at Mount Tarawera, and I used to see these planes flying over there, and I started taking a bit of notice of the tourist industry in Rotorua because there were a couple of mates involved in it.
Yeah.
And, and I've got a helicopter in my hangar back in Opotiki and the farm, and I'm sitting there on this farm. What am I going to do, the next mission on my life? And thought, well, I wonder if I should get into flying people in the tourist game up that mountain. So I started looking at that, and I realised that all these tourists were going up there in four-wheel drives and walking and helicopters and planes and all sorts of shit. And the local people that actually owned it, which was the Ngāti Rangatihi tribe, got nothing. So they owned this volcano that was being used as a tourist attraction by all these private companies.
Making millions. How much they're making?
And they're making millions out of it.
Millions.
And the actual owners are getting nothing.
Nothing.
I was staggered. So me being me and being Māori, I thought, this is not right.
Yeah.
So wonder who the karotas of this is. So I sussed out who was in charge, and old fellow Harry Simmons at the time was the main man, or the chairman of the board, of the trust board at the time. So I flew over to Marata in my chopper, rang him up first, of course, told him I want to come over and have a yarn to him. So I flew over there in my chopper, picked him up, and I flew up onto Mount Tarawera, and I sat up on the top of Mount Tarawera with him for a couple of hours, and he told me all about the place.
Yep.
And then I flew him home, and next day I had the rights to fly up there, along with everyone else. He gave me the landing rights. So I was the only one with those landing rights with the chopper, you could fly up there. So I was wrapped, so I fly up there with the chopper, and I'm landing these two people, and the other people are still doing it, but without any permission to do this stuff,
Yep.
So this goes on for a little while, and then I thought to myself, bugger this, I'm going to corner this for myself. So I went back to the tribe and said, hey, I want to lease Mount Tarawera off you, and take it over, and I'll collect the money on your behalf, and we'll split it.
Yep.
Right, the money that we collect. I'll fund everything.
Yep.
And you lease it to me for 30 years. I'll train your people how to do it. And
so you're putting them on business-wise?
Yes. So I'm saying to them, look, I'm the businessman.
All these people are using your asset.
Yep.
You're not making any money off it.
Yes. You haven't got the skills or the inclination to try and control it or monitor it or do something with it, because it's very difficult to do, especially if you're not in that industry. And here I was willing to do it for them in a partnership. Not only that, but also finance any upgrading or anything we had to do. I'd bankroll the outfit for 30 years and then train their people how to do it. So anyway, they, to my horror, instead of saying yes, a new trust board had been elected. Harry had died by now, moved on. They decided that they'd tender it.
Yep.
Well,
so you've put them on.
Yeah. So I got
business-wise. This is how you got to do it. This is how the business world works.
Yes.
Right, because that's your area of expertise, right?
Exactly. And so I woke them up to the opportunity.
We're going to do it on tender now.
Yeah. So that's what happened. And then they went, ooh, being Māoris.
Yep.
They went, oh, wow, maybe we should just see how many other people out there interested in that thing.
Yep.
So they put it out there, which just pissed me right off, of course, because, it was my idea. But never mind. Such is life. And good on them, at the same time, and looking back, they were smart. So and who would have to turn up? You had Naita, who turned up from the South Island. They already owned about 10 and had been buying up all the big tourist attractions like Shotover Jet and Helicopter Line and all these different companies.
Yeah, they're quite big in the tourism industry.
Oh, they're huge. They're one of the biggest players now, Naitahu, in the tourist industry. They went around and bought up all the gyms in the tourist industry, basically.
Yep. So who else is in there? Sorry, just to keep.
And so there was them. There was eight of us. Eight different companies decided to have a go at it. Anyway, we were in the Novotel Hotel, and we all had to meet there, and then we had an opportunity to do a 15-minute presentation to the board and then, have turns. Well, I was last, so I was sitting out there, nervous as hell, cruising there. And while I was waiting, I'd walked down to the reception, and I'd picked up an apple off the counter there, and I was walking around with this thing. I was too fucking nervous to eat the thing. Yep. And I just, doodling with it, really. And I walked in with it, and as I walked in, I thought, fuck it, I'm just going to do this really simple. Yep. So I pulled my pocket knife out, because they knew me, the board knew me. Hi, Steve, yep. And I said, right, here's my presentation. So I just pulled my pocket knife out, and I got this apple, and I put it on the desk, and I cut it in half. I said, well, that's Mount Tarawera. For the next 30 years, we're going to go halves.
Yep.
So this is the apple. We cut it in half. That's your half. That's my half. And this is how this is going to work.
Yep.
And I'll finance. I'll run. I'll train. Then I'll step away, hand it back to you. You do it, and all you got to do is sit back and let it happen.
Yep.
And I won it.
They
ended up giving it to me.
Do you feel like all those lessons that you had learned being in business, going to get your helicopter license, going from making 10% to making 100%, all those lessons that you had led along the way had led to that point where you picked up that apple. Because you had a presentation in mind, right? Like, you're going to,
Yes,
I'm going to sell myself. I'm going to,
and it's true. Yeah.
But then, like, in that moment, you're just like, nah.
Yep. It was just spontaneous.
But it's all that.
It's the knowledge that's behind it and the experience behind it.
It's all that experience
percolates down to that.
So that moment, right?
That moment, exactly. And I very much now, since then, I actually very rarely prepare to talk for speeches or any of that sort of thing. I just, because it'll be a bit like you talking about your business.
Yep.
And you've been doing it for 40 years like me.
Yep.
You don't really have to do much presentation. If you ask me a question about my business, I can just, off the top of my head, start talking about it because I know it so intimately.
Yeah.
So if I have to do a presentation about something, 99% of the time now, I don't even do any preparation.
Freestyle.
No, I just wing it. Yeah, just freestyle it and wing it. But that's with subjects I know about. Now,
So you got the contract. You got the contract.
So bang, I get this contract. Well, I get this phone call next day and saying you won.
Yep.
Well, mate, you could have heard me in Opotiki screaming from Rotorua. Wow, couldn't believe.
So you're thinking you're thinking I've done this great thing. Like, I've done this great thing for myself, for my family, but not only that, for the iwi.
Yep.
Like, they're gonna make all this money for their people.
Yep. For the Rotorua, for
Yep.
the town.
Yep.
For the tourist industry in general, overall, we're going to turn Mount Tarawera. My dream was to turn it into another iconic attraction. That would make more reason for people to come to Rotorua to look at what we got and all that sort of thing. So I'm just fizzing. Mate.
And then what happens?
And so we have a party. I ring up all my mates, the family, and about 20 of us come over to my place at Tarawera, and we have this big fucking party and celebrate, and then holy moly. I get up in the morning and I'm on the front page of the Herald and I'm the worst man in New Zealand because I've fucking taken over Mount Tarawera, and how dare those Maoris take over, and who do they think they are? They think they're going to stop us going up there. We've been going up there for 100 years. They can get fucked and blah, 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 blah. And my phone's going off the hook with all the media and, and I'd never had any of this in my life. So this is all new to me.
Yep.
So I've got no media experience. I've got no media releases. I've got nothing. So, and here I am. I've just had a good night out.
Yep.
I've top of the world.
Thinking you've done a good thing. You've done a great thing.
I've done this fantastic thing.
Yep.
And all I want to do is fucking shoot me.
Yep.
I've got the whole country against me, mate.
Yep.
I couldn't believe it, mate. And the worst one were the tribe.
Yep.
Was a faction of the tribe that didn't like the idea of me having it, and they'd rather get nothing than let somebody else get something. That mentality that some people have.
Yep.
Oh, fuck it! If I can't have it, nobody can.
Yep.
That bullshit. You know. Well, and it just blindsided me. Well, within a week, we lost $2 million worth of business in pre-booked business that I had pre-booked. The tourist companies just started withdrawing away from me because, everything in the
because of all the bad press?
Oh, mate, because of the bad press, and everything in the tourist industry is just pre-organised, a lot of it, and by now I was up and rolling. I was getting things done, and I'd forged a name for myself in the tourist industry with me helicopters. And
so you lost how much business did you say you lost?
Pardon? $2 million in the first year. We had cancellations and.
So what kind of revenue is the business doing? Like,
we were at the time we were doing around about $3 million overall, and so we got 2/3 of our business was lost. Yeah, just because of all this negative press. And then, of course, I had meetings with politicians. I had the local member of parliament, Steve Chadwick, came up. She was Labour MP at the time, and tried to talk me into letting New Zealanders go free. I had the district commander of police come and tell me to let New Zealanders go free. And I was young then too, and I'd just say to them, "Fuck off! Waimangu Valley and Whakarewarewa Thermal Park," and started naming all these other attractions that are just like ours. That were outdoor attractions that are people paying money to come and see, and everyone's got no problem with this. But what's the problem with mine? What the fuck's going on here? And for the first time in my life, I realised that like no matter how right you are, people can you can get a whole community and a whole country coming against you.
Yep.
And it took me 2 years to dig our way out of that hole. And we just forged on.
So the business is struggling.
Yeah, the business
now?
is struggling now.
Even though you got the rights, right? Like even though you got the rights to take people up there now,
Yes.
what you just don't have the clients. Or?
Yeah, well, what had happened was my tourist industry, my tourist business is struggling now because of the pullback from my tour companies, and I didn't blame them at all. The tour.
So there's no local tourists. It's all.
We were getting a bit of local tourists started, but it was very minimal in the first days. It was mostly aggro. People just coming up there to give you grief,
Okay.
And but it took us a couple of years, and because I was established, and I didn't owe a lot of money once again to people, because I always paid my debt off as quick as I could whenever I had debt. So if I bought a new helicopter or a new wagon or a new whatever, it always came out of cash. I paid it off as fast as I could.
Yeah.
So I didn't owe any money, but we had to consolidate, and it was my family, because we were a family-owned run businesses. All my businesses, all my family lived. And when I say my family, my 2 daughters and my son, Ethan, Jade, and Fleur, and my missus at the time, Judy. They were all involved in the business. So we just worked harder and did more ourselves to take up the slack.
Yeah.
And just stayed with the dream. And what actually happened, people got over it. Slowly, they got over it. And within 2.5 years it took me, and we was back in the money, and we had Mount Tarawera, that company, Mount Tarawera, started making a profit.
So so we took just Mount Tarawera helicopters, right?
Yeah.
So,
well, the helicopter company was still okay, because with the helicopter company it didn't just do tourism. I was still doing work for Doc. I was doing lifting. I was doing work for farms.
So this is a separate company.
Yes.
Okay.
I always set up my businesses in separate companies, so I could get the, here's another good information for you, is you can write, when you have a business, you only pay tax on profit.
Yep.
So what I used to do was I learned early that, so if you had a company that was turning over $200,000 a year, and it made $20,000 profit, out of that 200 grand, 10% profit, say.
Yeah.
Well, what I would do the government would want, company tax on that 33%.
Yep.
Straight away on that 20 grand left over.
Yep.
But if you went out and spent the 20 grand on a new wagon, now you've got for the company, you've made no profit.
Yep.
So you pay no tax.
Yep.
But you got a new wagon. So I'd do that with my helicopters. I'd just go and buy parts that I knew that I was going to wear out and going to need, because they're very, very expensive, like a set of rotor blades back in those days for my helicopter. It'd set you back $120,000 just for the rotor blades, So I'd buy a set of rotor blades or something like that and put them in the shed, and when I needed them, boom, they'd go on. So company tax level, I had good accountants and I never paid a lot of tax.
Yep.
And then if you started up new companies to run a separate business, while they were not making a profit, you could write the profit off against the other company.
Oh, really?
So that
I didn't know that.
Yes, that 20 grand
Wow.
could be written.
You're putting me on right now.
Yeah,
You're putting me on right now.
Yeah. The loss on the Mount Tarawera company, that I had there, could be written across to the gain on my property development company.
Yeah.
Because keeping in mind at the time, I had a property development company. I had I was farming as well, a farming company. I had my helicopter company, which was doing at the time was only doing about 20% tourism because we were just getting into it. It was still 80% other work. So we were financially okay, but it still cost us a lot of money, the loss in bookings.
Yeah, and that's in your head, like...
Yes.
Or,
all the time.
All the time.
And it did my head in. It does. You can't help it.
What is it that, like, when you're in that kind of moment, what is it that keeps you going, that keeps you...
What kept me going was believing in the end goal. The end goal was, as I'd put up there, that we were going to build this mountain into an iconic tourist attraction, and I still believed in the product and I still believed in the dream.
Yeah.
I just had to weather the storm. And I didn't know how long the storm was going to be,
Yep.
But I knew that this wasn't going to go on forever.
Yep.
And it didn't. We had a terrible storm for 6 months, 8 months, and then it started dissipating. But within 2 years, that was it. People got over it, and they realised nothing's going to change.
Yep.
And as soon as that happened, all my tour companies came back on board.
Yep. So they all come back on board?
Yeah, they all came back on board. Because what happened in the process of that, the police, people would come up and they'd just not pay, and I'd, get in altercations physically with them and throw them out of the place like a fucking bouncer down the pub, throwing drunks out, and then I'd run down to the police, and the police would come and charge me with assault or, throwing trespassers off the property, and so I had all these court cases. I even got charged with attacking people with fucking my helicopter. I couldn't believe it, because I sprung some people sneaking in the back way, and I landed next to them, and now I'm attacking them with the police. And so they brought these people back from England to testify for a 2-week trial they had on me.
Damn.
And I got acquitted on all of them. They were all lied. They were all lies.
How much money are we talking on lawyers' fees?
I burnt through about $170,000 in lawyer fees to protect myself from all the bullshit. So that was just eating up money like you wouldn't believe. But that's what it's all about. The Crown, or when the Crown goes against you, the government turn on you.
Yeah.
Mate, it's all about bleeding you dry, because they got it's not their money.
They got all the resources.
They got all the resources, and they know you've got finite resources, and they just throw all this bullshit at you. And that happened to me, this is real shit.
Yeah.
Where they were knowingly charging me with charges, knowingly knowing that those are going to tip over once they got to court, but they were getting great publicity, and they were destroying me financially. So it was bleeding me dry.
But it didn't work.
But it didn't work only because I didn't have debt, and we just kept going, and I'm a blockhead, and once I get focused on something, I don't like to give up.
They underestimated you.
Yeah, and also I dig in too, like if somebody tells me I can't fucking do it.
You got to do it.
And I've already made my mind up to do it. It makes me more determined.
Yep.
And especially when the pigs started doing it. And the government started doing it.
Yeah.
It's just like, no, this is wrong, What, everyone else can do it. Is it because I'm Māori?
Yeah.
Or is it because, what is it? Or are you just jealous? Or what is it? And I think it was a combination of all things.
Combination of it, eh?
Yeah, and plus my personality, because I didn't have any...
A hot shot, eh? They wouldn't have liked that, like they don't like that.
And, not scared.
Yeah.
Mouthy Mary boy. And no media plan and no plan on that, and I got myself in a whole lot of trouble with saying things I shouldn't have said at the time, and telling people to get fucked, and, and all that sort of thing. And they used all that against me, because they want you to be PC, they want you to submit, they want you to
there's
be
a lot.
submissive.
There's a lot of that going on now. Uncle, they call it cancel culture.
Yeah,
where people, they don't like what people are saying on the internet, they'll cancel them, they'll lose the platforms. Like you got the platform Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Like, for example, there's this guy called Andrew Tate who built this massive platform, started out on TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, got super famous, and then the cancel mob come from calling him a misogynist, all these other things. But really what was the message at the core is telling men they got to get off their ass and take responsibility for their own fucking lives.
Exactly.
So the cancel mob come after him, and then now he's lost all these platforms, right, where his message can get across. So they've cancelled him. Taken everything. Tried to cancel him, but it's the same thing. It's just the new age of what they were trying to do to you.
Yeah, exactly. But we got through it, and in the end, it was quite. Within 3 or 4 years, that all went by, and we got back up and rolling. And then I had I had the Lake Tarawera launch services. I had the Mount Tarawera 4-wheel drives. I had Mount Tarawera tramping company. New Zealand helicopters, I had Tarawera Farms, I had J&S Developments. I had 6 companies that I was running.
Yep.
And all of them doing well.
So are you starting these businesses from scratch, or are you like going around purchasing other businesses that are struggling? Or
all started from a dream.
Okay.
Or every one of them. And then I purchased the first up and running company of mine. It was I purchased off Shot Over Jet, which was owned by Ngāi at the time. So they owned Rainbow Springs and Farm Show. And they decided to sell off the farm show side of it. So I thought, 35 acres of land right in the middle of town. I was, things are going well. We were wanting to expand. So I bought the Rainbow Farm Show, and that was the first time I bought an up-and-running company. 158 staff.
Damn.
35 acres of land right in the middle of the Rotorua on Ferry Springs Road. And I think we bought it at auction, at a tender for, I think it was about $3.2 million or something. So it was, at that stage, it was the biggest purchase I'd done too. So we got in there, but before I bought it, I could see we used to work with that company a lot. And I could see it was just way overstaffed. Yeah. It was one of those companies.
Inefficient.
Totally inefficient. Way overstaffed for what they were doing. So as soon as I took it over, that was one of the big things.
Because of all your business experience leading up to that point, like for myself, for example, just an example, when I'm walking around and I'm looking at men's haircuts, I'm like, he's got a shit haircut, he's got a good one. So I just imagine at that time you're walking around businesses and you're seeing, this could be changed here, this could be changed here. They're doing this good, they're doing that right. That's how you're looking at
exactly
this business, right?
Because I was involved now in the tourist industry for several years, and in all these other businesses, your whole the way you look at the world changes. If I was lucky, Dad brought us up to be really observant. And, like when we were growing up, we'd go out hunting and he'd sit us in the bush sometimes and make us sit there for hours and listen and observe and watch things and then tell us, and he'd give us little exams about it and all this sort of thing. But it made you being very observant. And then once you've got a lot of experience behind you and different things, it's like you looking at another barber now compared to if you were 10 years ago or 5 years ago. It's just, you guy cutting hair. But now you're watching them and you're seeing so much more. And you could imagine when you get some mileage on the clock and you've also been involved in other areas of business. So now you're getting around and you're looking at the retail sector, you're looking at how clean the streets are, you're looking at how well kept the buildings are, you're looking at how clean the sign is into your town, how well the gutters are clean, when they emptied the rubbish bins. There's so much that you're just seeing all the time because you've got all this knowledge and awareness about these things because you've had these businesses where that was just critical to their success. So I took over the what was it called? It was called the Rainbow Farm Show, and we renamed it straight away to New Zealand Farm Show, and we ended up running that farm show. It was about 158 staff we inherited, and in the end we managed, within 12 months we got it down to about 60. And we're still running the same amount of people. About 120,000 tourists a year used to go.
You got it down to 60 staff.
Yeah, doing the same job.
I was speaking to you on the weekend, and you told me what was it, like a gym. It was a gym. Do you remember what that gym was that you told me?
A gym?
A gym.
A gym.
Like a bar of knowledge, like a gym. Like you said it to me, and it ties into like how you had 150 staff and then you got it down to 60.
Yes.
What was it?
We what?
Just a short. It was only a short couple. One sentence.
Oh, I can't remember.
Okay, I'll tell you. You said to me, most people don't understand this. $1 saved is $1 made.
Yes. So true.
Can you go into that a little bit more?
Yes.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
$1 saved is $1 earned. My dad taught me that, his dad taught him that, and my great-grandmother told him that, is what my dad told me. And it's one of the best bits of advice I've ever got was that. Of course, I never listened when the dad told it to me in the beginning, like you do, because you're a young know-all bastard. But when I got a few miles on the clock, like you do, you look back and go, oh my God, if only I'd listened earlier. And what it actually means is it's really simple. If you save $1, it's no different to earning $1. And what am I talking about there? If you go and buy your lunch every day at the bakehouse, and it costs you $30 to get your kai for the day.
Shout out to Bangkok House. I'm there every day.
Exactly. And it's the way it is now, which is really strange for me as my age group, because when we started work, nobody went to the bakehouse. There wasn't even a fucking bakehouse to go to, really. Everybody, you made your lunch and took a sandwich and you took your lunch to work, and it cost $2. And today you can still do it for $5 or $10. Well, you're saving 30. If you're spending 30 at the bakehouse and you do $10, make your own lunch, you're saving $20 a day.
Yep.
Well, $20 a day is no different to earning another $20 a day.
Yep.
So $20 a day, 7 days a week, 2 sevens. You're $140 a head straight away, and that's just on your smoko.
Yep.
So it's pay attention to the small things.
Yep.
Another thing my dad used to say to me is look after the pennies. The pounds will look after themselves, or look after the cents. The dollars will look after themselves.
Yep.
And that's a very good saying too, because in my case, once the big item things, once you've bought them, they're there.
Yeah.
It's all the little things that are going to make that big thing fall apart if you don't.
Yeah, because you don't realise that it's the little things that add up, and you don't realise
it's so important. It's all those little details make up to a big thing, and that keeps everything on track. So that dollar earned, dollar saved, same. It's so
but
important.
that's like the principle that you applied, right? When you
all the way through.
Fuck, we're just leaking all this money on staff.
And it's the quickest way to turn a business around or turn something around is identify the holes in the ship, the leaks, and start plugging them up.
Yeah.
And everyone you plug up is going on to bottom line. It's profit. It's going back onto your bottom line, because you're not earning any more money. You're just stopping the loss.
Yeah.
So therefore you're earning more.
Yeah.
You're saving that loss by putting.
How do you if in your mind, how are you going through that process? Because let's say your revenue is 200 grand, right?
Yes.
And then you're dropping all these staff. How do you make sure that your revenue isn't declining at the same time? You know what I'm saying?
What I did was before I bought the business, I knew it was coming up, so I'd go there for a couple of weeks. I went there just about every day, and I just sat there and watched.
Yeah.
Like I'd sit there for 6-7 hours at this one place.
Yeah.
Just watch how they did their thing, watch their staff, watch who was doing what. They never knew I was going to buy this place. Nobody even blinked that I was there all the time. And I was looking from that point of view of where can I save money. Oh, look at that guy. All he does is stand on the door when the tourists turn up, and the rest of the day doesn't do anything else. Well, the tourists only turn up 4 times a day, and he works for quarter of an hour each time, so he's actually only doing an hour's work.
Yeah.
For me, the rest of the time he's in the smoker reading a book. Yeah. Or looking at his phone.
That was me.
Exactly.
I would have been one of those employees straight up, because
exactly.
Every other job that I've had up until to this point, I don't even consider this a job, but up until this point, I didn't want to be there.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do it. I didn't have a passion for it.
Yep.
So I'd do
the minimal
amount that I could.
Yep.
To still keep the job.
Yes.
But at the time, I didn't realise that because I didn't have a skill.
Yep.
Fucking every job I had, they could have hired anyone.
Yep.
They could have hired anyone. I could have walked. If they could have fucking hired anyone, so there was nothing to set me apart. They could have just hired anyone. So that cycle continued until I was fucking 30 years old, and then I was like, fuck this, it's got to be more to life. I want to fucking do something that I enjoy doing.
Yeah.
But now what I do, that I'm cutting here, I'm in business, I love it. I'm a totally different person to the person I was, when I was
PAY.
When I was a fucking employee. Doing that. We used to have a saying when I was in Australia, and I was getting paid good money for what I was doing, because anyone could have done the job that I was doing. Anyone could have fucking done it.
Yep.
There's not much skill involved. We used to have a saying called "still get paid." You just do fucking the least you could,
Yeah.
Where my mindset's totally different now. I'm here doing a podcast, trying to build my brand. I'm not getting paid for this necessarily, or we might get paid for it in 10 years, but the mindset's totally different.
Yeah, and I see that stuff everywhere.
Yeah.
When I'm getting around, like we were alluding to earlier, you see so much more. You're so more observant. You've got all the, and I see it everywhere now. So many people doing jobs that they obviously are doing exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
They're just doing the minimum amount because they're just living till Friday, mate.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of there.
You seem to find that, from hearing your story, you seem to find that early. For some reason, you found it early.
Yes.
Like, I can go make the money for my fucking self.
Yeah. And that's what it was, I think, because when I started working for people.
Like, even back to selling the cigarettes, like, you realised it really early.
Yeah.
You know?
And the other thing is Dad brought us up where we worked hard. And so we had this work ethic. I had already had this work ethic in me. So once I started making money out of selling cigarettes or anything, I was just like, whoa, it just motivated me, I just got motivated. And so I always sort of gravitated to things that I could do myself rather than the wage. I have worked for wages, but not for long.
Yeah,
not for long. For the same reasons we're talking about.
I feel like there's there's an innate feeling, especially among men, as it's like a search for freedom.
Yes,
it's like a real masculine thing to like want to be free.
Yeah,
free from anyone telling you what the fuck to do with your life.
Yeah, it is, because you grow up with. Your parents telling you what you should be doing, your school teachers telling you what you're doing, the fucking government telling you how you should be. Everybody's telling you what you should be doing, right down to some guy trying to sell you something, even subconsciously. So you got all this pressure on you, and it takes a lot to just believe in you. Fuck them all.
Yeah.
Believe in you, but it still takes hard work. It takes a lot of thought, but. Pick that passion out. Pick that thing out that you really, really, really enjoy doing. Yep. And look at it and think, now, how can I make $1 out of this? How can I turn this to my advantage and make money out of it, And on the way, on that journey, you'll find that it'll lead you. It won't be a straight line to your goal. It'll be this zigzag line that'll lead you all over the place, but it'll make you better for it because you'll learn all these other skills. You'll learn all this other toolbox, I call it. You get these experiences that you put in your toolbox. And you carry around this toolbox, and during your life, you're just putting this knowledge of, I call it my toolbox, and it's basically a knowledge box where you've learnt all these things and you put it in there, and you just keep putting stuff in there, and when you need to pull them out, they're there.
Yeah.
But if you haven't got that toolbox, you're fucked.
Yeah. Speaking of experience, knowledge in your toolbox, travelled all over the world, worked all over the world.
Yeah.
So. Talk to us about
how that happened.
Well, that experience.
What happened to me was I was in Rotorua, and around about 2000, I started. My wife and I started drifting apart, and what it was I just turned into a workaholic, mate. I was hardly ever home. I'm an insomniac, hardly used to sleep.
Yeah, that's me. You're explaining me.
Exactly, bro. You just can't turn the computer off because you've got so much shit going around in your head, just thinking about things.
As a warning to you, if you get in the business, like it's hard, turn it off.
To turn that machine, turn the old the computer off up here, and especially when you've got a lot of shit on the go. And I actually thrive on it, mate. I like it.
Yeah,
I actually like it. It's funny. I like waking up at 2:00 in the morning and boom,
I got an idea.
I got an idea. Where's my? And I've always got my little notebook by the bed. And I reach over and scribble, Jabez, don't forget to mention this or whatever, and put it back there, and I go back to sleep, and then I'll lie there, and something else, and I'm up again, and then I can't go to sleep, and then I'm up, and I'm off all over the place, and every woman I've ever been out with just thinks I'm the weirdest guy that's ever been with. I'm all over the fucking place like a madman, in my head, I'm saying, I just can't turn it off, and a lot of and the girls, if you get serious with them, they're not too impressed with that sort of shit.
They always try to pull you back back to the like one thing I noticed about women, they're always trying to pull you back to the present. But like someone like probably like yourself and like myself, you're always thinking of the next thing,
Exactly.
You know, it's hard.
And you end up in a space ahead of other people.
Yep.
You know, it's like you're sort of one step ahead of them all the time.
Yeah.
And you become very impatient, and you become very short with people that aren't keeping up with you. So it's a danger. You've got to watch out that you've got to actually be careful that you don't become arrogant.
Yep.
I think is the word. And I did. At one stage I became very arrogant and I didn't realise it at the time because of that.
Yep.
You know? And then anyway, we drifted apart. Anyway, one day I just couldn't do it anymore. So I decided, no, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to... And plus, I'd been offered a job in the Galapagos Islands.
Damn. Does this explain to people where because some of our viewers won't necessarily know where
The Galapagos Islands. The Galapagos Islands is a World Heritage Park. It's an archipelago of 14 islands. They belong to Ecuador. Ecuador is right on the equator. And they're about 1,200 kilometres from the mainland out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, straight out right on the equator. And it's the most amazing place I've ever been in my life. And for me, I'd read an article in an old National Geographic in 1960 sometime about the Galapagos, and I was always a wildlife person, an outdoor adventure person. So I always wanted to go there. And anyway, I went to this funeral of a friend of mine, got killed in a helicopter, bless his soul. And I ran into a friend of his, and they had Grant Layton was his name, and the other guy was Steve Gamble. And I ran into Steve, and they'd just got this contract with the United Nations Development Program in the Galapagos to eradicate up to 500,000 goats that were destroying the island.
500,000?
500,000.
How the fuck did goats get on that island?
They were released there 100 odd years ago by mariners, for food source. And they used
just
to do it all
walk
over the
over,
place, chuck a few goats out on the island, next time we come back we've got a few goats to milk and eat and all that sort of thing. And they've just grown into this massive problem over there. No predators there.
They're just destroying all the wildlife, right?
Yeah, basically eating all the food of the wildlife, competing for the food, just doing what goats do, just stripping them.
And what kind of wildlife are we talking like?
Just about all the species in Galapagos are endemic to the Galapagos, which means they're found nowhere else.
Yep.
So you're talking about the giant Galapagos tortoises, you're talking about marine iguanas.
And is there people...
Yes, they're living on the island. It's when I was there were 10,000 people living in Port Tarawera, which was the main capital city on the main island. And then there was another couple of villages. It's one at San Cristobal, which is only about 1,000 people there, and another one at Portavilla over on Isabella Island, and that was only about 800 people there. So when I was there was only about 12,000 people on the island.
So that's probably like...
Yeah, very few. Only 3 of them populated. 4 populated. All the rest, 10 of them, no people.
But all got goats on them.
All had goats on them, and they had eradicated the goats off all the little ones by just running around chasing them on the ground, But these 2 big islands, they wanted us to go over there, and
the helicopters.
They decided to get a helicopter, and so the United Nations did an international tender.
Yep.
And Steve Gamble and Grant Ward won the tender, and then he got killed. So Steve, when I saw him at the funeral, he mentioned it to me, and I thought, wow, fuck, I've always wanted to go to Galapagos Island. So when I went home, about a week later, after I gave it a little bit of time, to let the old mate, the memories go by a little bit, I rang up Steve and said, hey, bro, I always wanted to go to the Galapagos Islands. If you want a pilot or anybody to give you a hand, give us a shout out. And he said, fuck yeah, you can be my chief pilot.
Yeah.
Go over there and run the joint. So sweet. So I got a job, and I broke up with my wife and gave her all my companies.
Yep.
I didn't even settle all that. It was a silly thing to do, but never mind, looking back. But I just walked away from it all, basically.
Yep.
I had my farm, and where the family home was all secure, and I thought at the time in a family trust, and that was all I was interested in.
Yeah.
So I walked away from my farm show business and my helicopter companies and my Mount Tarawera companies and all those, and went over there to manage this company, and not manage it, run the flying side of it as chief pilot.
Yeah.
Well, when I got there, it was so dysfunctional what was going on. The whole thing nearly tipped over, and I was asked to take over the whole management of the helicopter side of it. And,
Yeah.
so I did, by the United Nations and the Galapagos Parks Board. And we were there for 2 years. The company was there for 2 years. I was actually in the Galapagos for just on a year, first year, and then I went back over to the mainland and spent another couple of years there, or a year and a half. And in the end, we eradicated 270,000 goats off the 2 islands.
Damn.
Got rid of them completely, no more goats.
Damn.
It was the biggest noxious animal eradication program and successful program in the world to date, with the type of no by-kill.
Yeah.
I.e. there was nothing else killed that was not meant to be.
Just the goats, eh?
Just the goats. We shot a few dogs and we shot a few cats that just happened to be in the way at the same time because they were not meant to be there. And donkeys, we shot some donkeys too. And so the mission was accomplished from that, and that took me offshore. And then after I finished that,
So the wildlife's thriving now in the
yes,
Galapagos.
it worked. The wildlife's got thriving. We saved about 5 or 6 species from extinction. It was
Nice.
the greatest job I've ever done. It was the
It
best.
must have felt so good, like
Mate, it was
to know that, like,
it was so good to be
you've got
doing what you love.
Yep.
Which was flying choppers. I just love flying helicopters.
Yep.
Doing what you love, but actually doing something even bigger.
the
Just
purpose
doing,
behind
the
it.
purpose, that
Because
you
you
were
knew-
saving these animals.
Yeah,
mate.
you knew in your mind, like, that if we don't get rid of these goats, fuck, they're just going to eat all the food, and there's going to be none for the native wildlife, right?
Yeah. And exactly, and that's what it was. It was all these endemic native wildlife. And like when I got there was one island where they found the last tortoise on there, and his name was Lonesome George, and he's about 100.
Old Horty, eh?
Yeah, exactly. Old Lonesome Horty. And he, and I felt it was so sad because, he looked so different from the other tortoises because they all adapted to their type of environment. And he was about 120 years old, and, he was the last of the species. So he was like the last of the Mohicans.
Yeah.
It was so sad. It just about makes me cry now when I think about it. And that he's dead now. But and that was the end of that. Well, we saved about 5 species from that. And
Nice.
and that was the most rewarding and best job of my life, I'd say, there, doing that
Nice.
job, because I loved the people. I ended up hooking up with one of them and bringing her home,
Oh, yeah.
Paulina, and having 2 boys. I had Sam and Gabriel.
Yep.
They're both, they're little Maori, Ecuadorian, Irish, Scottish kids.
Nice.
Speak Spanish, speak Maori, speak English, speak French as well.
Yep.
Mother's awesome. She speaks about 6 or 7 languages.
Damn.
She's a school teacher now, and so we were together for 7 years. Had 2 awesome kids. Once again, fell apart because I was all over the place working like some sort of madman possessed. Because after the Galapagos, I went to the United States after, and I got headhunted for a job over there to manage a company for James Innes up there. So they headhunted me to go up there and run their company for them, which I did.
Yep.
Loved that. It was awesome. And we were doing wildlife management and all over Mexico, Canada, and America, doing exactly the same things. Either relocating endangered species or capturing and monitoring.
Yeah, so like live capture.
All live capture. And we were catching things from mooses to bears to bighorn sheep, pronghorn, mule deer, coos deer, just so many different species. And working with some cool people. The people that work in that whole industry are just such cool people. They all get paid fuck all. They all do it just for the passion, the good ones. And it's just so cool to be around a whole lot of passionate people all on the same page doing the same shit. It's just, and also you see the result that you're doing. You're saving these species for future generations to see outside of a fucking zoo.
Yeah.
Because I hate zoos. Zoos are just like concentration camps, mate. You go to a zoo and I just feel sorry for those. I won't even take my kids to a zoo.
But all right. So just to wrap things up, we had a bit of technical difficulties. My camera battery ran out. But the reason I got you here today is because you're running for Mayor of Opotiki. So we just talked about your whole business, life experience, all these skills that you learned along the way that you're going to take into potentially being the mayor of Opotiki. Been overseas, lived in America, Galapagos Islands, and now you're back. You're back in Opotiki. What was it that made you think, shit, I might try and run for mayor?
What got me into it? I moved home nearly about 12 months ago, and as soon as I got home, people I knew, like people similar to me, business people, friends of mine, said, "Oh, why don't you run for mayor? Why don't you run for mayor?" And I look at them, what the fuck? I want to run for mayor? Yep. Are you for real? No, I run for mayor. No, you should be. Our council's useless. There's people down here hopeless, they're dysfunctional, and they haven't been doing anything. They rent the town run down, and blah 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 blah. Anyway, I'm looking at all these things, and I start taking notice, of what people are saying, and that they're right.
Yeah,
they're right. I just see it everywhere, mate. I left the town 28 years ago. It was a thriving middle-class rural New Zealand town.
Well, you were making crazy amounts of money.
Making crazy amounts of money.
So you weren't the only one in Opotiki?
No, everybody was. Whatever they were into, you could make good money. Maybe not as much amount of money I was making, of course, because we got the helicopters to assist us. But the people were making good living. You could make a good living. All you had to do is do the mahi.
Yep.
Get off your ass.
The treats.
And you could get the treats. No problem. Well, now it's a winds town, mate. It's just our demographic there's only 10,500 people in the whole rohi, in the whole region, and it's a huge region. It goes all the way from sort of Nukaho, Wainui, which is on the eastern boundary, the western boundary, and it goes way right up to Waio Bay, just about to Hicks Bay.
Yep.
And then halfway up to Waiweka Gorge the other way. So it's a huge rohi, only 10,500 people in it. And only about 2% of the land is rateable.
Yep.
Most of it is actually, national parks or state forests, I should say, or, those type of things, scenic reserves and shit. So there's a very small income coming in. But at the end of the day, what really drew me in was as I started looking at doing some building and going through consents and that, and then I started running into the same problems that people were telling me about, and the dysfunctional council, and and all they've just let everything run down.
Yep.
And the whole demographic of the town's changed too. So I'm a great believer that I'd come home, I'm semi-retired, and instead of whinging amongst ourselves about it, which I'd heard as soon as I got home, all my mates are whinging about what's going on and all these different things to do with the council at a council level. Then I have a look. I thought, fuck it, I'm going to have a go.
Yeah.
So I sat down with my kids.
Just like you always have, throughout your life, just having a go.
Yeah, just give it a go. And I have had political experience in the past, when I was at my busiest and most successfulness, and went back in Rotorua when I was involved in the tourist industry. I became the president of the Aotearoa Māori Tourism Federation, which was the only organisation at the time that it was Māori organisation that the government recognised. So you had direct access to Helen Clark and Jenny Shipley at the time. Murray McCulley and John Banks were the ministers.
So you were the chairman, right? You were the chairman?
Yeah, I was the president and chairman of that. Plus I was the chairman of the Wild Animal Recovery Operations Association in the North Island. I was also the chairman of the Rotorua Tourism Advisory Board.
So you got experience with that hammer, eh?
Yeah, got experience with on those boards. One thing I learned, a board's very different to running your own company. When you run your own company, you're the captain of the ship, and and it's your way or the highway. Basically, ultimately, you listen to your staff and you listen to your team, but ultimately you make the call. Whereas in that environment, if I do become the mayor of Opotiki, I'm still only one vote.
Yep.
But so really, my job as the mayor is to be the captain or the leader.
Yep.
And a good captain, in my opinion, they unify the team.
Yep.
They get everybody on the same page, and they lead by example.
Yep.
And that's your job. And keep a unified team. You see Richie McCaw leading the All Blacks.
Yep.
You see Buck Shelford leading the All Blacks.
Yep.
Those successful teams because they were unified. And they moved as one, and their captain was in control.
Yep.
And they followed him to the end, and that's why they were so successful. And it's the same in your own family. Like if you spend your time arguing with your missus or disagreeing all the time, you're just having meetings for meetings' sakes, and you're just going nowhere. You're just going around and round in a circle.
Yeah.
But if you can get all the boys onto the same page, or mum and you are on the same page, or whatever you're trying to get achieved, and you're now united, mate, you're just moving forward at a rapid space.
Yep.
Because you're united. And that's going to be the biggest challenge for me, is uniting our dysfunctional council that we've got. And then what I see in the town is they're totally just out of touch with the people that vote them in, and especially the youth in the town. The youth in Opotiki, mate, we've got third generation poverty now. In Opotiki, and I see the kids, the young ones, and it makes my heart sad, mate. I look at them, and they're third generation. They're second, third generation. They're not like my kids. They're not like your kids. They've never been taken fishing. They've never been taken hunting. They've never been taken to the snow. The best example they have is Uncle Bully turning up on his bike with his patch on and chucking them a couple of lollies and a fucking bag of fish and chips like Uncle Bully on the fucking movie.
Yeah.
And he's the coolest guy in town because he's got a patch on. He turns up on the Harley.
Sounds like my dad.
He's got the bag of lollies. And he looks the part. And mate, he's the biggest role model in his life.
Yeah.
And we wonder why our young men from that background gravitate to the gangs. It's to me, it's not rocket science. And also, it's sad. It's very, very sad. And we've got a big problem with that. And Opotiki's at juvenile crime, delinquent kids, and really it's just boredom.
There's nothing to do, eh?
There's nothing to do, mate. They just wander the streets bored, shitless, while mum and dad, or if they have got a mum and dad, they're on the crack pipe or, on the piss or whatever, and they don't give a fuck about their kids. The kids don't go to school, or if they do, maybe 1 or 2 days a week. And, my idea is that needs to be turned around, and the way I think we should do it is with my own ideas, is we should be creating programs where every weekend those kids are on a mission somewhere.
Yeah.
They're being exposed to all these things I've talked about: hunting, fishing, horse riding, milking a cow, going on a farm, going down to Ruapehu, learn how to ski, just go and play in the snow, just go out and about with positive people and talk about the possibilities, show them, open their eyes to the world, show them the possibilities, tell them that they, constantly encourage them. And what those mentors should be doing, for example, I think we should be doing things like, I'm going to take the kids to Rotorua and show them how the tourist industry is going to work. So I get my half a dozen kids, chuck them in my wagon, and I take them over there. I've got a captive audience, and I take them around and show them all these possibilities. But really what I'm doing is watching.
Yeah.
Once again, it's observation.
Yeah.
And after I've done that 2 or 3 or 4 times, I will see that kid that gravitates to like driving the car, or likes that type of activity, or likes to go fishing, or likes the shooting the gun, or likes the hunting, or doesn't mind getting the blood on their hands. Well, now you're actually seeing the natural talent of somebody.
Yeah.
Now, if you just come in behind that with a bit of encouragement, like I did with my children, You tell them, oh, wow, you did a good job. Oh, you're good at that shit. Blah, 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 blah. You're lifting these people up for the first time in their life. And I think you'd have huge success with that. And the other thing in Opotiki, what we haven't got is we've got no activities. We've got no facilities.
Yep.
We don't even have a public swimming pool anymore.
Yeah.
It's like absurd, mate. There's nowhere for the kids to
There's
go.
like nothing to do.
Nothing to do. And these kids are... when I left, we had 3 rugby clubs. We had a soccer club. We had, about 20 junior soccer teams. There was all sorts of clubs and things around town. Well, most of those have died off. We've got 1 rugby club left. It's those are the positive things. I went to the JAB junior rugby prize giving the other day, and I go there and it's so cool because you see all these parents that actually do give a damn about their children, making the effort, taking them to those sports, encouraging them, and giving them something to look forward to in their life, and something to be positive about. Is that? Then we've got huge roading problems. We've got huge problems with housing. And then, housing over in Opotiki is shortage like everywhere in New Zealand. They have got schemes there that are working well for Māori, that government schemes that I'd like to expand it for everybody. And then we've got another big issue is health. We've got a lot of health problems here. And one of the major ones that we've got is addiction to methamphetamine.
Yep.
The old meth on the crack pipe, mate, it's just devastating our community. It's devastating everybody, I think, and I don't believe there's ever been an honest conversation about it and what's really going on in our community out there. People have this illusion that, the typical meth freak is some WINS guy that spends all his money on WINS and turns into some sort of crack fiend. When reality is what I've seen all over the world in my journey of my life, is that's the tip of the iceberg. The real market for the dealers are the functioning crackhead, the person that goes to work, the person that's got a business, the person that actually can afford this every week. And they're usually closet smokers. Their families don't even know about it. But they're in the toilet having a pipe, 2 or 3 or 4 times a day. And that's what keeps them going. And I know people that have been doing that for 40 years. 40 years, mate. I know personally people like that. And I've seen the effect of the devastation in my own
higher
family.
society people too, eh?
Yeah. And that's the other thing. I've rolled.
So it's not the stereotype.
No, not at all. And I've rolled in some of the richest people in this country, and around the world. And when you get on the party hardy with them, out comes the lines of coke, and out comes the meth.
I always found that interesting.
And the LSD, and the party drugs, and the E's.
I've always found that interesting that, like, if you smoke pee, well, you're a crackhead.
Yeah.
But if you do cocaine, you're cool.
Exactly.
Because that's the rich person's drug. So, no, you're cool. I've always found that, like, wow.
Weird.
Like, because for me, I believe that all addiction's the same. Doesn't matter what you're addicted to. You could be addicted to fucking jerking off, cigarettes, alcohol, crack. At the core of addiction, it's the same thing. You're trying to mask something. Like there's some pain, there's some trauma that you've experienced in your life that you're trying to mask. Because all of those drugs, they give you a relief from whatever it is that you're experiencing, right? Like,
I don't know anybody that takes drugs to feel bad.
Yeah.
Every single person that takes drugs is to make them feel better.
To feel better.
Escape from whatever is going on in their life. To forget it, to get away from it. And, if you're an educated person like me, and I'm very depressed and I'm not feeling well and I can't sleep and I'm losing it, well, what do? I go to my doctor and I go, oh, doc, I can't sleep, I'm feeling depressed, I'm feeling suicidal or whatever's going on, like, as you do in your life sometimes. And she reaches for a notepad and she writes you out a note for some antidepressants or some downers or uppers or whatever you want to call them. And what people don't realise, that's what the cooks make into meth. that same sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So the guy smoking it that needs it, that doesn't go to the doctor, he goes to the dealer to get his meth.
Yeah.
I go to my doctor and get it.
Yeah.
Legally. Now that's okay for me to be hooked on pharmaceutical drugs.
Yeah.
As from society, because I'm doing it the right way.
Yeah.
But if I go and do it through the poor person's way or through the crackhead's point of way,
Yeah.
well, all of a sudden I'm a criminal.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, this is an addiction. This is a health problem.
Yeah.
And people have got problems when they're doing this stuff. So, and the people I feel most sad about are the children that are living with addicted parents, because now you've got these, unpredictable people that haven't slept for days, if not weeks sometimes.
Yep.
And they're just totally unpredictable and irrational about a lot of things. And you've got children growing up in this environment. It's just terrible. Yep. And let alone for the people themselves. So I think we should be, first thing we've got to do is have honest and open conversations about the situation. Get it out of the closet. Stop demonising the problem. Stop demonising the people that have this addiction.
So they can get help.
And get in behind them and support them properly without all the stigma and bullshit that surrounds it.
Because if you're an alcoholic, like, you can go get help, right? Like,
exactly.
No one's going to judge you. Like, no one's going to judge you. Like, we'll just accept it. Like, you do all sorts of crazy shit drinking alcohol, but you can get the help. Like, it's hard to get the help if you're smoking crack because you can't talk about it, right? Like,
exactly. You can't have an honest conversation about it because it's too demonised by society.
And then so you end up with those kids, like you're saying, like, that don't have anything to do, that their role models
are all negative.
Yeah, are doing in that game, like they might look cool because they might be riding on a Harley, like you say, like. So that's the role model, right? Like, but there is more to this world. Like,
totally,
you can come from nothing and make yourself into something.
Yes, totally. And I believe I know people that are from those backgrounds that have pulled it off. That have got out there and followed their dreams, found their niche. Took them a while, but they needed support to help them. They need people out there to give them confidence and show them direction and give them love.
Even like myself, I was born in 87, and I remember as a kid, like Opotiki was even back then pretty thriving. Like I've fond memories of being a kid and being around Opotiki. I've been back recently, and like the fucking town's dead.
Yes, it's dead. You can't even buy a pair of underpants in the town. You can't even buy a pair of shoes except for at farmlands. The retail sector's died. The town needs a facelift.
And from a businessman's perspective, like what is it that you see? What is it that you see? There's obviously, like, for a town not to be thriving, I mean, there's no investment, right? Like, nothing's going in there because there's no money coming into the town.
Yeah, what I'm hearing from the business world is they're finding it, the existing businesses that are still there, they're finding it hard to attract good staff to come there to work for them, because unless the old mates into hunting and that, or fishing, there's not much attraction in Opotiki. So a lot of guys can want to come there, but when Mum comes to check the place out and she sees the state of the town, what's available, the shopping, the schools, what's going on with the juvenile delinquent side of things, they don't want to come there.
Yeah.
So these businesses are struggling to find good staff.
Yeah.
To come there, they'll go somewhere else. There's a lot of people in town that are unemployed, and they get employed through the kiwi fruit and that, but that's just seasonal work, and it's, who dreams of being a kiwi fruit picker?
Yeah.
It's my career.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody does.
Yeah.
Come on, let's be honest here.
Yeah, if we're honest about things, like, we all want to be fucking rich and famous, like,
exactly.
And
we want to be
whether or not we achieve that, that's what we all want. Like, that's just fucking telling it how it is.
Exactly, and we want to be in charge of our own destiny.
We want to be in charge of our own destiny.
And how you do that, you need money, and you need
Yep.
and you need security, and you get that from getting a good job or
Yep.
having a good business and getting your cash flow. And
Like,
there's
if
no
you could ask
reason-
anyone, you want to be a kiwi fruit picker or you want to be a fucking rock star? We know exactly which one everyone's picking.
yeah, and there's nothing wrong with being a kiwi fruit picker, but it's not a career.
Yeah.
You
It's
know, I don't see that.
It's a means to an
Yeah,
end.
it's a means to
It's
an
a
end.
step. It's a step
That's all it is.
on the ladder.
Exactly. You know, it's just a stepping. It's a part-time job. You might do it for
Yep.
a few seasons or seasons to get some money, or when you get older, you might do it just for something to do and get a couple of extra shillings or something like that. But it's not a career, that sort
Yep.
of stuff. I don't believe picking kiwi fruit, tying up kiwi fruit. You know, gosh, that sort of thing. And what we need is more meaningful jobs. And to get more meaningful jobs, you need development. You need people to come there and develop. And one of the big ideas I have is to speed up the issuing of consents for getting things done.
Yep.
You know, it's just ridiculous all over New Zealand how long it takes to get things done now, you know, to get a consent to do simple things when there should be able to get the consent in 5 working days. And
Yep.
there are people that are connected,
They can get it done.
even in Opotiki,
Yes.
that can turn around
That's-
these consents in
that's-
5 working days,
that's
10 at the most.
That's one thing, right? If you know someone,
Yes,
fuck, you can make shit happen.
exactly.
Like, and that's something that I've learned along the way. Like,
Yeah.
if you do know someone, things can happen. But if you're just your everyday
Yeah.
person, like your everyday person in Opotiki who's going to vote,
Yeah.
fucking can take 20 days, like, for the consent,
Yeah.
right? Like, come on.
Yeah, and then some of our consents over there, you know, the average consents now, I'm hearing through the business community that people I talk to, you know, they can be waiting 7-8 months.
Damn.
Yeah, you know.
Not that
and,
bad.
And in the business world, is money, time is money.
Time is money.
You know, every day you're delayed on your project, it's costing you
Yeah.
money. And big money. And a lot of these government employers and council employers, they don't get that.
Yep.
Because they've never actually put their nuts in a vice about anything.
Yeah.
They've just been, you know, go to the PAYE job, go turn up. Most of them,
I feel like
and I'd say most of them don't even
everyone's,
like their job.
It's like a responsibility thing, right? Like they don't want it to come back on them. Like if something goes wrong, I want it to come back on me. Like there's that sort of mindset, right?
Yeah, there's that mindset, and I reckon a lot of it's just they're just lazy.
Yeah.
You know, I do. You know, like if you've got a team of people and they're not performing, well, the first place you look at is the captain and the coach.
Yeah.
You know, you don't and see where they're failing, and as far as I'm concerned, the team in the Opotiki District Council are failing horribly, and that's why I'm running. And I've heard it all over town. I'm not the only one. And now I've started my campaign tour and getting around and actually, you know, put it out there. I'm hearing it everywhere, and you know, there's so many areas that the council could lift their game. And going back to, you know, one of the common things that I get, so if you get in, will you put the rates up? Well, of course, it's one of the possibilities, but it'd be actually the last one I'd look at, because we want to burden our people more.
I know why, because a dollar saved. Hey,
There's a dollar in.
there's a
So
dollar
we
in.
pull out our old saying, dollar saved, dollar earned. So we look at
Yep.
our ship, which is the Opotiki District Council,
Yep.
and we start plugging up holes.
Yep.
And we start plugging those holes up, being just like I am in my personal business, and you are,
Yep.
mindful where every cent is going, get value for money when we do spend our money,
Yep.
and stop the ripping, stop the slippage, stop the laziness, get
Yep.
people more productive within the council, and you would save millions, in my opinion.
Yep.
Millions. I've done it with other companies. I've done it within my own companies. I don't see any reason whatsoever why it can't be achieved. The only thing that is going to be the biggest difficulty that I see is unifying the councillors that get voted in.
Yep.
Because I'm the Donald Trump of the situation. You know,
Yeah.
I'm the guy that came home.
You're the make Opotiki great again.
Yeah, that's that. Strain the swamp, make Opotiki great again. The guy that's come home after 28 years and challenging the existing three people that are, you know, the existing mayor and two councillors that are running for mayor. They're a known quantity. They're known by the local people, but I think they have failed in their mission of what they've been doing, in my opinion, and in the opinion of a lot.
So there's
of
the
people.
mayor and two councillors that are already councillors running for.
Yeah,
So there must be some dissent there then if the two councillors are running for mayor as well, because I got a friend who's councillor for Flaxmere here. He's not running again, but the Hastings District Council are having the election as well. But no one's running for mayor. The mayor's she got re-elected just by default because no one's running.
Yes.
Because everything's running how it should.
Yes.
Right, she's doing a good job.
Yep.
Everything's running how it should.
And that's how
So
it
no
should
one
be.
wants to. None of the other councillors want to challenge you because
She's
they
doing a
know
great
she's going to
job.
get in. So she just got she's back in
Yes.
by default because she's doing such a good job.
It's awesome to hear.
Yeah.
And that's what it'll take with me. I'm determined that to do what I want to do and to turn my town around, our town, the town I love, to turn that around is going to take 2 terms. You know, it'll take me a year or 2 to get in there, get my head around exactly what's going on, and then start draining the swamp. What
is it that you love about Opotiki?
What do I love about Opotiki? I love the environment. I love the fact that we're right on one of the best, if not one of the best beaches in the world. The Bay of Plenty there, right at the Eastern Bay there. We got the bush.
Yeah,
right
Bay of
on-
Plenty's got all the best beaches.
Yep.
Just
And
saying.
we've got the bush at our back. So we've got sandy beaches, rock beaches, hunting, fishing, all the best fishing that you could get, from, you know, big game fishing, bluefin, right down to, you know, snapper, terraki, all that outdoor stuff, hunting is all available, all the rivers, all that, and just the environment. And then the town, what I like about the town is it used to be a unified little cool town.
Yep.
And I don't see any reason why that can't be repaired and put back in place.
And just to, because we're starting to run out of time, just to wrap it up, why should someone vote for you?
Why should somebody vote for me? I think because I've got the experience, the knowledge, the background in both areas that are required, which is business and social development, to turn the town around and make Opotiki a better place for everybody.
Make Opotiki great again.
Yes, and Opotiki great again, Opotiki for everybody. I believe in equality and prosperity for everyone. There's no reason why we can't help everyone in our
Work
rohi.
together.
And if you want change and you want positive change, vote for Steve
Vote
Collins.
for Steve Collins.
Yeah.
And I'll say it myself, and like he's my uncle, of course, and I know a lot about him. So, you know, if you are a fan of mine and you listen, you live in Opotiki and you have a vote, you are enrolled. Vote for this man here. Won't do you wrong.
And don't be shy to give me a bell. You know, have a look at I've got my phone number out there, email. It's all out there. You know, talk to me. Tell me your concerns. You know, I represent the people. I don't represent me. I'm determined if I become the mayor, I want to be transparent, not like the last council, which was not transparent. Secret meetings between councillors, the public not allowed to attend meetings. You know, just ridiculous stuff, in my opinion.
Okay.
So
Anyway,
yes.
thank you, Zor. Another episode of Jabez Makawe Experience. Thank you, Uncle Steve. Appreciate your time today. I learned a lot of knowledge, a lot of business knowledge, and yeah, the man's running for Mayor of Opotiki. So if you have a vote, you know who to vote for. Good luck to everyone else that's in there, but this man gets my vote. And thank you, Uncle, for taking the time.
You're welcome,
spending it with me
Jabez.
today.
It was a pleasure, and good to see you following your dreams and passion. And out there doing it too.
Yeah, I'll be President of New Zealand. Oh, Prime Minister.
That's the one. We need somebody like you. We need people that are active. Get out there, be active, be involved in your community, especially the young ones. And
Eyes open wide to find